One of the things with the pandemic is that everybody was at home. White families watched what happened to George Floyd, just like black families did. White people was like, whoa, we didn't really know it was still this bad. Black people were saying, we told you. So now we're at a very interesting point now where people are saying, hey, listen, I want to hear your story. What really happened? And I believe that now we need to hear each other's stories. We don't got to agree, but I want to hear where you're coming from, or how did you see that? How did that affect you? And I think that that's one of the bravest things that can happen. In the city of Buffalo, people from all over Northeast America, Middle East America, Middle America, they came here to seek freedom. People walked hundreds of miles to get free here. The change of consciousness, the change of status has always happened in Buffalo. The Niagara movement, Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, those people met here to change the consciousness of America and the world. And Buffalo has been there.
The east side of Buffalo has a long, complicated history. Large numbers of African Americans did not start to arrive here until after World War II. When the African American population comes into the city in large numbers, they're channeled onto the eastern side of the city.
They were walkable communities to American Axle and other factories, and at the time that made sense.
However, it was a community in transition. At the time that the African American population began to come here in large numbers, the economy was shifting from an industrial economy to a knowledge economy. And the jobs and the opportunities that lured African Americans to this region were disappearing at the very moment that they got them.
And then what happened slowly when the factory started to close down, you see a shell of a community that suffered from disinvestment.
Population is falling for many whites on the eastern side of the city. They're moving into the suburbs. The driving force behind the segregating process is the land valorization system. Because opportunities to utilize housing as a wealth producer will always be greatest in communities that are whiter and whiter. So whiteness was embedded in the system we use to determine housing and land value. And it was simple. The more exclusive and whiter community is, values go up. The more inclusive and blacker it is, values go down. And so those whites who were living on the east side intuitively understood this. And they were moving to locations and places where the neighborhood conditions were stabler and where the possibilities of generating greater wealth through the purchasing of houses and the like were also higher. That's where much of the demolition is occurring, destroying the abandoned houses that would occur. The problem with all of that was there was no planning accompanying the demolition process.
On the east side alone, over 7,000 vacant properties were torn down. But where is the innovation in order to actually strategize what goes there? Who wants to live on a city block with 2 houses? Who's taking care and maintaining all of that green space?
And so today we have this enormous problem of unbuilt lots all across the east side. There were also other massive projects like Route 33 that's initiated in the 50s and it's built principally during the 60s.
So they dropped a highway right in the middle of one of the most beautiful park systems in the nation. We see shuttered businesses because it's a highway there, so it's no longer a walkable community. We look at the asthma and the cancer rates in this particular zip code.
So as a consequence of those city building choices and decisions, the African American community was being increasingly segregated.
And so these are compounding. It's the economic issues, it's the health issues, it's just the day-to-day life of living next to vacant, toxic land.
The environmental hazards that face the East Side are beyond shameful. The whole East Side is a little brownfield because of the existence of all of those factories over there.
Parts of the east side of Buffalo has higher rates of lead poisoning than Flint, Michigan. There's a crisis that's having a disproportionate impact on communities of color, in particular Black communities here.
I grew up on what we call the east side of Buffalo. We've seen it slide downhill as far as progress, as far as sometimes hope. When Black people came here from the South, regardless of what they had a culture of working together. So it's not about what you as an individual had, it's what we had. If something wasn't working right for you, our team, our family, our church, our lodge, our Masonic group, our group of women, they would band together. We're going to have to redefine how hungry we are to work and depend upon each other. And I think that that's really what all of these communications are even about. As we tell these stories, how do we prepare to repair?
We've been on that journey to figure out where are we safe? And in the midst of trying to pull all that together, only not even a block away from the Open Buffalo headquarters, white supremacists came in and shot up elders in our community in a grocery store. We're not even safe trying to buy eggs or a birthday cake in our community. No one is coming to save us. Help isn't going to come from another country or Albany or Washington, D.C. We have to develop the necessary power, resources, and knowledge to save ourselves. Any solution that truly lifts up the people and changes lives has to come directly from the people. The answers have to come from the bottom up. And that is the work of Open Buffalo, where we're not the superheroes that's gonna come in and save a community, but we can teach community organizing skills. We can teach you the social, political history of Western New York to understand, how did we get to this place? It wasn't just an accident, right? That there were intentional public policy decisions that created the conditions that we're living in today. We've been around since 2013, 2014, and for me, the foundation of the work that we do is to invest in our emerging leaders, investing in the people.
My name is Tamara Cross, born and raised in Buffalo, New York. Grew up around the Kensington, Fillmore area. I knew I would be dedicated to creating change in my community, but I didn't necessarily have the toolkit that I needed, or like just knowing the fundamentals of what it takes to organize and effectively create change. So when I came across the Emerging Leaders Program, it was actually my first year at UB, my freshman year, I went to Open Buffalo, and that's where I met Franchelle and all those wonderful people. And so fast forward that fall, I was learning about the one-on-ones of organizing. I was learning about the emotional competence you have to deal with these issues, the knowing yourself. I learned about what fuels my fire to create the change I wanted to see. So I learned more about myself. I learned about the fundamentals of organizing, and I was able to just put it forth and apply it to my life.
Juneteenth Festival is now one of the largest, one of the most talked about, one of the most visible ones in America. One of the things about Buffalo is not that we're the biggest city, but because we have so many different types of people and so many different types of oppression, it forces the Black community that want to do positive to have to work together. Everybody has a part to play, mainly also because we have one of the longest parades. Not longest in length, but just like longest in time. It's only 1.5 miles. The parade starts about 11, many times it doesn't end until 2. And that's because we have so many participants. You have thousands and thousands of children and adults representing from their arts, their culture, their drill team, their schools. Everybody participates. And for those thousands that are marching and participating, you got twice the amount lining the streets, giving Black people a chance to show off their pride, their culture, without anybody turning them off. So the parade goes for 3 hours. It's only 1.5 miles. But it speaks to, I guess, some deep down yearning that regardless of what we see, there's still some deep vision that we want to see the best in each other. And honestly speaking, with last year being the first time that we can have the full parade after the pandemic and 1.5 months after the Tops shooting, you can see the energy in the eyes of people, like ready, like we're ready. Juneteenth reminds Black people in particular what your responsibility is to yourself, to your creator, to your ancestor, and to the future of this planet. That is why we're doing so much now with the gardening. We're doing so much with the agriculture. We're doing so much with water systems. We're dealing with ecology. We have to play a role in maintaining ourselves and the future of this planet, because there are many things that are happening in the inner city that's causing problems with nature. So Juneteenth is important because we have to move forward with our best selves, and we have to participate in preparing to prepare ourselves too. It's a participation for everybody.
I came to Buffalo when I was 17 years old to go to the University of Buffalo. The thing that defines my life is as an educator. In this period of my life, I'm dedicated to food, growing, and gardening. When you have a healthy community, you have all of the healthy systems for that community. So at one time, Buffalo had the largest Black-owned grocery store in America. How did we go from corner stores that were Black-owned, a huge Black grocery store, from that to this? And again, it's the same characters: lack of jobs, redlining, no money from the banks. When the pandemic happened, you couldn't go into the community gardens. Historically, when you have a crisis, the United States asks people, women particularly, to go into the factories and start growing food, right? I'm saying maybe we should do a home grow program. So the idea of Freedom Gardens came from that. So now I've done 150 gardens. We use volunteers to install the gardens. So that's what we did for the last 3 years. Buffalo has made significant progress because we have urban fruits and veggies called Buffalo Go Green. What I found out in that first year is that many of the grandmas said they wanted the beds because they wanted to engage their children or their grandchildren. I want one of those beds, Miss Gail, because my grandson told me if I get that bed, he's gonna water the plants and he'll take care of the garden. So it reconnected us intergenerationally with a group who were experienced gardeners with a group who never gardened before.
The east side of Buffalo needs a holistic strategy in order to get us to a fair quality of life. When we look at crime, it connects back to the land. When we look at food access, jobs, what's happening in our education system, all of these things are connected.
Let's connect health to all of these elements and begin to build a movement aimed at generating health outcomes that are very, very positive. So I look at environmental justice through our strategy for health outcomes. The environmental issues and environmental racism is deep, deep, deep on Buffalo's east side. But it has to be attacked as a part of a broader collaborative strategy. And to me, the central part of this strategy is that neighborhood planning has to be in the forefront, because comprehensive neighborhood planning is how we bring all of these pieces together in a specific geographic space.
Where you live in Buffalo can literally determine your health outcomes and how long you live, how well you live, how prosperous you live. Our zip code has one of the highest prevalence of cancer. Not only defunding these areas where primarily low-income people live, but also you're not guaranteed fertile soil, you're not guaranteed prosperous opportunities for health, you're not guaranteed access to certain necessary things. I figured out my passion to serve others in medicine was what I wanted to do in life. My end goal is to become a primary care physician in Buffalo, New York, to be not only a familiar face in the area, but also just mitigate the health disparities that permeate our communities and just help those to achieve an optimum health and have them to have the opportunity to do so no matter where they grow up or what their circumstances are.
Since 2020, we've started this journey reimagining what the east side of Buffalo means. How do we feed ourselves? Looking at what's happening in the contaminants in our soil. So we started to look to other parts around the nation and around the world. Who is taking a ecological lens, working to save our planet, to mitigate the impacts of the climate crisis, but utilizing the people in our own communities, right? That's our greatest resource. And out of those conversations, out of that research, we birthed the concept around the Open Buffalo Ecology Center. Our vision is that we'll bring a 10-acre green space to the east side of Buffalo, and that it's really a welcoming, safe space for impacted and marginalized community members. Having one central place where people can access goods and services, where people can learn state-of-the-art green sector workforce development, and really take control of their own lives in their communities is what wakes me up in the morning. My goal is to make everyone on the east side of Buffalo, regardless of what native country you're coming from, what your skin tone looks like, to understand that green is the great equalizer. So everything that's happening in this new or old green economy is going to impact you. When we really use a green lens and ecology lens to reimagine what the east side could be, what Buffalo, Niagara Falls could be, it's a beautiful process.
Having space to sit and think and work with other minds that are trying to sit and think becomes very important, because the space, the energy, the time, the beauty, the vision, that does not exist. The potential is here. There has to be a place where vision can be seen and it can be expanded upon. It has to be a place where local minds can be fertilized, regardless of their economic status, regardless of if their parents are together, regardless of if they're Muslim or Christian, regardless if they're Black people from America, Black people from the Caribbean, or the Bangladesh community. We have to have spaces and places where people can be free to imagine, follow their curiosities, and have accessibilities and tools to move higher.
When we first started kind of brainstorming around what this meant, like we started talking about geothermal heating and solar panels and passive heat technology, things that I hadn't even wrapped my mind around. But as the journey grew, it was almost like a buffet. Community members would put in a little piece into this gumbo of what the eco center would be, and people were like, okay, well, it's great that it'll be energy efficient, but where's the food coming from? Right. And so as the concept grows, people are putting in their own community-based thing that they need in the eco center. So what once started as this is an energy efficient project, now this is a holistic strategy to solve the multiple problems that our community has been facing for decades. That's right? What I love. And it gets me so hyped like when we talk about it, because it's like, that makes sense, because we don't live one issue lives, right? We're facing all of these problems and issues, and also joy, right, at the same time. So how do we start to, the problems that we face, how do we start to build solutions that put in all of those issues and problems in order to fix it simultaneously?
There are many things that we have to do with like and right minds. We're going to have to get there now, because whether people believe it or not, climate change is real. Snowstorms are hitting Buffalo that people have never seen before, once in a lifetime storm. So we're going to have to figure out how to be and do better. All of us have a part to play, and we should encourage each other to have everyone be their best self.
I see the future of the east side of Buffalo cleaner. I see it healthier. I see fresh food options and affordable food options everywhere. I see it flourishing with the same opportunities that are found in other metropolitan areas.
And I do these gardens. Here I am. I am in their backyard, in their sacred space. And I saw a lot of resilience and a lot of hope and a lot of no woe is me.
I don't want a Black Wall Street. What I want is community wealth. Let's pool our money and let's buy that building over there and turn it into a series of condominiums. It's our building now.
We're just talking about, at this point, just equalizing that. Not to say that we're trying to build a utopian society, but that my kids have a fair shot at life. And just because they were born in a particular zip code does not mean that they don't have the same shot at life. So that, to me, that's what the transition looks like. And hopefully one day, maybe I don't live to see it, but that my kids get to a place where it's like, okay, I can see myself in this new economy. I don't have to leave Buffalo. I don't have to move to New York City or Atlanta or the West Coast. Like, I see myself here, that I can have a quality way of life. The planet isn't burning up, right? That there's trees on the east side. We really need everyone actively involved wherever you're at. We're gonna meet you where you're at, but you have something to contribute to ensure that we're revitalizing our neighborhoods, one street, one block, one campus at a time.